Coming up on UCF Nightly News, UCF alerts are up around campus, but is crime up overall? Find out what students can do to protect themselves.
It's 1 year after a UCF student was struck and killed. Find out what's being done to keep pedestrians safe.
And the Knights bring home a win from Hawaii. Nightly News was in the Aloha State covering UCF softball's big weekend.
You're watching Nightly News, covering the UCF community and the greater Orlando area.
Nightly News starts now.
Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Stephanie Muniz.
And I'm Natalie Pellicetti. Today is Friday, February 27th. A Valencia student is still recovering after a stabbing on Monday night. An attacker stabbed the 18-year-old multiple times during a fight outside of Knight's Pub. The victim was taken to Orlando Regional Medical in critical condition. The Orange County Sheriff's Office is still searching for the suspect. However, UCF PD says crime in Orlando is on the decline. The recent rise in UCF alerts have some worried about their safety. Reporter Chad Irwin tells us what students can do to stay safe.
Any UCF student with a cell phone knows that there were an abundance of UCF alerts sent out in the past few weeks. But is crime actually on the rise? A burglary at Northview, armed robberies at Del Taco and Subway, and most recently a stabbing at Knight's Pub. All of this happening in the past 2 weeks. This recent barrage of crime has some students thinking twice before going out.
So it has me feeling worried about going simple places like CVS, not even thinking about going out at night.
I have spent time with friends who live at Night Circle. I usually spend 1 or 2 nights there, and right now I'm holding off on that because it feels a little sketchy.
UCF Alert says it sends out notifications when something has a direct concern with student safety. And 14 of those alerts were sent in just the first 2 months of this semester. Compare that with last fall, where only 3 alerts were sent in the same amount of time. Officer Peter Stevens of UCF PD says a lot of these crimes could have been prevented.
Students should realize that the real world just off campus has lots of moving parts. People are committing crimes out there, and you do make yourself an easy target if you're not security aware. So take the time to pay attention to your surroundings, take the time to lock your doors, and pay attention to what's going on around you.
Now, the number of UCF alerts is up, but Officer Stevens says overall, crime in Orlando is going down. It's just these crimes have happened a little closer to campus. Reporting in Orlando, Chad Irwin, UCF Nightly News.
Orange County says that they've arrested a suspect in the 2 armed robberies at Del Taco and Subway. UCF police still recommend students stay in groups when going out.
It was 1 year ago this week since UCF student Brooke Dawkins' fatal accident near campus. Dawkins, a Kappa Delta at UCF, was hit and struck by a truck while crossing Alafaya Trail and Gemini Boulevard. She died in the hospital 10 days later. We told you last week how family and friends are honoring her memory. Now those who knew her say they are still waiting for answers on improving pedestrian safety around campus.
Just protect the students and make us feel safe that we can walk to and from class and not be worried about these accidents that keep on happening.
Florida Highway Patrol records show in the last 5 years there were 33 crashes involving pedestrians around campus. 6 of those crashes, including Brooks, were fatal. Reporter Devin Cafaro tells us what student government and Orange County officials are doing to make the roads safer.
Imagine, instead of waiting for the signal to walk across Alafaya University, you went over the intersection on a pedestrian bridge. Student government officials ran for office on that very same idea, but now a year later, this intersection is still the same.
There were signs, tweets, and even spoken promises in the Nightly News presidential debate.
When we thought about this and put it on the platform, it wasn't something like we were just trying to slap a platform point on there and put our name on it.
But now, almost a year later, progress on the pedestrian bridge is at a standstill.
It was kind of a rough reality to see all the processes that we have to go through.
Bays originally planned to lobby on the state, county, and city levels to convince lawmakers to fund the project. Records show SGA spent more than $60,000 on the Gray Robinson lobbying firm so far this fiscal year. But Bays says none of that money went towards the bridge.
Because we have to do the study, we have to get in with that stuff first before we can go for the money. And if we find out the pedestrian bridge is really the best thing, which is still kind of up in the air at this point.
And now the idea is stuck in an Orange County study. One big problem, the price tag. The Florida Department of Transportation estimates a bridge will cost almost $10 million to build. And that's not all county officials are worried about.
There needs to be enough land, it needs to be in the right location, and we need to be able to funnel a significant number of pedestrians through that structure to make it a success.
The pedestrian bridge is really what we saw at the time as the best thing to advocate for. And as we've gathered more information and had the chance to be a part of this study, it's one of those things that we're trying to learn.
Bays says he hopes the next administration will continue working with the county to improve pedestrian safety around campus. As for the study, project managers say they'll release their official recommendations this summer. In Orlando, Devin Cafaro, UCF Nightly News.
Orange County's officials say they are also considering adding more lights and revamping the crosswalks around campus. Nightly News will keep you updated on what they decide.
Many people rehome pets for free on Craigslist in the hopes their pet will be adopted. But Examiner.com says many of these animals end up in anything but a good home. Craigslist doesn't allow people to sell animals online. However, you can ask for a small rehoming fee. Judy Cerullo runs Pet Rescue by Judy here in Central Florida, and she says many of these pets given away for free on Craigslist face a very rough life.
So it's really dangerous, and a lot of times in these free to good homes, in Craigslist, they end up in research labs, they end up in rings, fighting rings. It doesn't cost anyone something, then they sell it to somebody else to make money.
A petition online aims to get Craigslist to only allow registered shelters and rescues to find them homes. 400,000 people have already signed the petitions.
Last week, we told you about a new plan to move TSA out of the Orlando International Airport. The airport committee is considering the switch after several customer service complaints and issues with management. The biggest concern, however, was safety. Nightly News caught up with Congressman John Mica at the airport, and he says private security could have advantages.
When I've had it privately and independently tested, I find, and the results that speak for themselves, that private screening under federal supervision performs statistically significantly better.
He says plenty of airports have made the switch, including large airports like San Francisco. With this weather going on lately, I'm not looking to travel anytime soon.
I know, I was actually planning on traveling to New York for my birthday this weekend, but because of weather, I don't think I'm going to go. Natalie, what can you tell us?
Well, happy birthday, Natalie. But I've actually got some good news for you. If you're planning to leave out of Orlando, you should be all right as long as you're not going towards the northeast, like middle, like Boston, Massachusetts, that area. Everyone else is looking pretty good. Here in Orlando, however, we're looking pretty consistent with the rest of the week. It's 63 degrees outside right now. There's a 20% chance of rain. The winds are coming at 11 miles per hour from the north-northeast, and that humidity is a little high at 61. But all in all, it should be an okay day for your birthday.
Thanks, Natalie. When we come back, NASA has plans to send a drill to Mars, and UCF students are working to make sure their design goes to the red planet.
And Disney tickets top $100. Find out what the increase means for students. Sometimes gadgets are not just for kids. The UCF College of Engineering and Computer Sciences celebrated student achievements over the last few days. It's all part of National Engineering Week here at UCF, and participants had a chance to show off their work. Exhibits included homemade water treatment systems, human-powered vehicles, and interactive displays. One engineering student says this week helps put UCF on the map.
It just raises awareness and shows everybody how cool engineering is. It is an important part of our society, and it's a great way to put math and physics and art and different disciplines together.
Nearly a dozen clubs and student groups showcased their work throughout the week.
And there's something exciting happening within the aerospace engineering community. Nightly News reporter Tom Ebbels tells us about a group of Knights that want to leave an imprint on the red planet.
UCF seniors Kelly Lai and Thais Lage are working to leave their mark not just on Earth, but also on Mars. The two aerospace engineers are members of the Lunar Knights Mining Club at UCF. The club is competing in the NASA robotic mining competition that takes place at the Kennedy Space Center, where the winner could win up to $10,000 and have their robot design be used by NASA on their mission to Mars. The Lunar Knights design uses a giant drill to sift volcanic ash and gravel. Lage says the way their robot collects the material is what makes it unique.
So think of a gumball machine, how it spins and it brings the gumball up to the top.
Club president Kelly Lai competed in the contest last year. Unfortunately, her team had to forfeit due to mechanical failures. Lai says that letdown was a major motivator.
I wanted to come back with a vengeance. I wanted to come back with a good team, with a more diverse team, an interdisciplinary team, actually come back better, bigger, and way better than before.
Lai also says she wants to win $10,000 to leave to her team. Although the actual mining robot will be much bigger than team mascot T-Bot here, the Lunar Knights believe they've got a great chance of winning it all. Lage says the thought of having something on Mars with her name on it would be a dream come true.
It'd be amazing. You know, as an engineer, all you want to do is create new things and be innovative. So it'd be beyond amazing to actually see something that you thought up and prototyped actually be sent to outer space.
The NASA robotic mining competition begins May 18th and runs through May 22nd. In Orlando, Tom Ebel, UCF Nightly News.
For more information on how the team will earn points in the competition, visit nightlynews.ucf.edu.
And still at UCF, after 17 years as VP for Alumni Relations and Development, Bob Holmes is retiring. Holmes was also the CEO of the UCF Foundation. He raised hundreds of millions of dollars for the campus, benefiting the Rosen College, the Bright House Stadium, and more. The search for his successor began this week.
And Monday marked the first day of a $6 increase in tickets to Disney's Magic Kingdom. Now, instead of $99, entrance to the park will cost $105 at the gate. This includes Florida residents hoping to buy a one-park pass, but locals can still pack in the savings on multi-park passes. Officials with the SGA ticket office say prices here at UCF will remain $71.36 through 2015. Prices are adjusted every calendar year around October.
Upcoming midterms can cause stress for some students, but studies show that pressure can have an impact on how we treat our bodies. The Journal of Business and Economics study found a connection between stress and compulsive eating in 18 to 22-year-olds. And rec and wellness officials say they saw a 21% drop in students attending the gym during midterms last spring. UCF dietitian Priti Wilka says students should put in a little more effort to make healthier choices during stressful times.
You know when you're going to have midterms, when you're going to have your finals. Try to pre-plan some of the meals beforehand.
In our next show, reporter Melissa Murray will tell you about crash diets and just how they can affect you. People with intellectual disabilities have trouble finding work, but after the break, we'll tell you about one man who's breaking that statistic.
And Jack Abel will have our top stories from around the country.
Stay In a recent survey, the Special Olympics reports that 2 in 3 people with intellectual disabilities don't have a job. Nightly News reporter Maria Laporto caught up with local business trying to change that statistic with a new member.
Meet Mikey Wilkie. He's 23 years old with Down syndrome, and he's new on the staff here at the Oviedo Ale House.
Because I want to meet new people, and I'm here one region and get a paycheck.
But not many people like him with intellectual challenges have a job they can call their own. The Oviedo Ale House has given Wilkie more than a chance to work. He has a new home. General Manager Matt Robb hired Wilkie and says adding him to the team has not only helped him, but the rest of the staff.
It is enlightened them on life, and they take pride in what they do and bring them in, and they kind of like train them, and they put their arm around them, and they learn a lot. And I think it's been really beneficial for both sides.
From pouring sauces in the kitchen to setting tables in the dining room, Wilkie does it all.
I have to make sure the food come out and soup it and make sure it's followed.
As Wilkie and the Oviedo Ale House staff learn and grow, Rob hopes other restaurants follow the example.
I think it opens up the eyes of your staff more than it does anything else, and I think people really appreciate things a lot better. So I believe that other restaurants really should think about doing that.
Most visitors to the Ale House will agree. You just can't resist Mikey's smiling face greeting you at the door. In Orlando, Maria Laporto, UCF Nightly News.
The Oviedo Ale House currently employs 2 workers with mental disabilities, but Rob hopes to hire more as the program expands. You can find out more about Mikey's story on our website, nightlynews.ucf.edu. Wow, Natalie, that was such a touching story.
I love hearing about these local stories. Honestly, they're just so inspiring. But Jack actually has a look at our national headlines this week. Jack?
Thank you, Natalie. My name's Jack Ebel, and here's a look at what's going on throughout the country. Officials say a shooting spree in Tyrone, Missouri last night left 8 dead, including the shooter. Texas County Police say there are 4 crime scenes in Tyrone and possibly 2 more in 2 separate counties. The motives and the identity of the shooter have yet to be released. This is a developing story, so check out our website, nightlynews.ucf.edu, for updates. Yesterday, the Federal Communication Commission approved net neutrality rules. FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler's proposal passed on a partisan vote of 3-2. Net neutrality, also known as open internet, calls for an equal availability for all legal internet content. Wheeler's plan makes internet service providers similar to phone companies by classifying them as public utilities. The new rules are meant to make fair competition between content providers and content distributors. Next week, I'll look further into the concept of net neutrality and what it means for you. Thursday marked 3 years since the incident involving the death of Trayvon Martin, and this week the U.S. Department of Justice announced it will not be filing charges against George Zimmerman. Federal prosecutors concluded there was not sufficient evidence to prove Zimmerman violated Martin's civil rights. And 3 men, including 1 in Florida, were trying to join ISIS in the Middle East. FBI officials arrested Arbor Habibov in Jacksonville, Florida, and the other 2 in New York. All 3 of the men were from Brooklyn. Federal officials also say these men plan to join the terrorist organization, and if that failed, they would attack the United States, particularly President Obama. Each of the men face a maximum sentence of 15 years in prison. That's all for the news around the country. Now let's go to Natalie Cabieses and see what the weather looks like around the country. Natalie?
Thanks, Jack. Well, first we're going to take a quick look at what's going on around Florida. Tallahassee's over at 57, Jacksonville's also at 56, Orlando and Tampa are looking about the same at 61. Florida's been dealing with about the same weather all week, just a little bit of wet, and just not quite cold, but just enough to say you might need a light sweater. If you want to look over at what our clouds are looking like, it's kind of similar. If you look at it, we can see that over down here in the Keys and in Miami, it's really, really dense clouds. But as you can see up here, it's starting to clear out a little bit, which is great. As you'll see later on, as we look at our precipitation map, although it's very cloudy throughout the week, it's actually not very
go.
Coming up, UCF softball is making history and hitting home runs in Honolulu.
Camila Uribe will have our full force sports update.
Welcome back, Knight fans. I'm Camila Uribe, and this is your UCF Sports Update. The UCF softball team is having its best season in program history. The number 17 Knights traveled to Hawaii last weekend to play in the Bank of Hawaii Invitational. Nightly News reporter Charles Baber caught up with the team in Hawaii and found out what the tournament win meant for the program.
The UCF softball team headed to Hawaii last weekend with an undefeated 8-0 record. They were also riding the high of star pitcher Shelby Tournier being named ESPNW's Player of the Week. Head coach Renee Luers-Gillespie said, not only did the ESPN announcement bring the spotlight to UCF, it got the team fired up.
Anytime you get recognized on ESPN, those are things that we try to get our word out, get our name out. We want people to know who UCF is, and we're doing our best to kind of get recognized and take some fame into UCF now for softball.
Catcher Kaylin Sinal says the team has grown a lot this season.
We definitely showed some improvement in chemistry this year. We've been bonding so much.
The Knights left Hawaii as champions of the Bank of Hawaii Invitational, beating out nationally ranked Washington on Sunday.
UCF Knights!
Reporting in Honolulu, Hawaii, Charles Baber, UCF Nightly News.
And on Wednesday evening, the team came up short at number 1 Florida 2-1. Junior catcher Kaylin Sinal hit her third home run of the season in the top of the 7th, but the rally fell short. Sinal said after the game her team is ready to compete with the number 1 Gators again when they see them in regionals. Nightly News also caught up with the head coach Renee Luers-Gillespie, who said no matter what, her team gave its all.
This team has that fight. Every time that we're playing a game, it doesn't matter who we're playing, they find a way to win. They come out with everything they have each and every game.
In Show 2, Allison Henning will tell us more about UCF softball's dynamic pitching duo. On Wednesday, the Knights took on the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats in Daytona and won 18-8. UCF remains undefeated as they improved to 8-0 on the season. The Knights will face the Ole Miss Rebels at home tonight at 6:30. And that's all the time we have for today. Stephanie, Natalie, back to you ladies.
Thanks, Camilla, and thanks for joining us. Coming up, spring break is just around the corner. Find out why crash diets may do more harm than any good.
That and more in the second half hour of Nightly News with Vanessa Rodriguez and Arnold Godoy. Stay tuned.
Swap.